So Noah was a very happy boy, such a great kid from early on, just very easy, very loving, soft-hearted, great student, took honor classes, played football at the age of 4, all the way up until his freshman year. He liked playing video games, playing basketball, going to the park.
He knew like everybody at all 3 campuses. He had friends at all 3 campuses. Like everybody knew who Noah was.
We had been dealing with Noah smoking pot. The fact that he would try something else wasn't that alarming to me. Okay. I mean, like, I wasn't in denial.
Right. Like you don't want, like, your kids experimenting with smoking, and you warn them that it could go to other things, and so that possibility is always there. We couldn't convey the message that you're 15 years old. It's against the law, it's illegal, and you're 15 years old. Friends, family, we all tried to get through to them about, you're 15 years old. You need to cut it out.
May 7th, it was the day before Mother's Day. It was a Saturday afternoon. We were at the Green Meadows splash pad with our 2 little girls. I usually keep my phone on vibrate, so obviously didn't know I was getting phone calls. And then I just picked up my phone and saw I had so many missed calls. That number called again. It was Kyle PD. And he said, "Is this Janelle Rodriguez?" And I said, "Yes." And he was in a frantic. And he said, "I need you to get to this address right now. There's been an emergency with Noah. Are you Noah's mom?" And I said, "Yes." He's like, "There's been an emergency with Noah." So we loaded up the girls, like, just drenched. We were there with friends, and they could tell by my panic that something was wrong. So they helped us load up the girls, and we took off.
They transferred him from here to Dell Children's, and I think it was about 4 or 5 days we were there. It wasn't quite a week. It was just shy of a week. But, it's a waiting game. They can't tell you, they can't tell, does he have brain damage, or his lungs, severely damaged from aspirating the vomit that he aspirated. And when they he was in a medically induced coma, and when they brought him out of that, he sorry. He thought it had only been a day. And he didn't even really know what happened. He knew he took something, but he didn't know that he overdosed. He didn't know that he had been in a coma for a week. But fortunately, he didn't sustain any kind of brain damage or any kind of, he had some diminished lung function that, was going to take some time to get over, but luckily there were no serious consequences of it.
The first day, we laid down together on my bed. We watched a movie. I just held on to him. Like a little boy. And I just told him, from that day forward, we were just going to leave everything behind us and just move on from it. We were not upset with him. But we wanted a new life. So we agreed. He agreed. He promised, I'm not going to do anything. I learned my lesson.
Believe him?
We did. We did.
Can you tell me a little bit about that shirt and what that means to you?
Yes, this shirt was made by Noah's mom's sister-in-law, I think. This was my boyfriend, Noah. He's recently passed away, and this was his nickname, Ace, so long live Ace. I knew Noah for about a year, but we were together for about 3 months before he passed away. The first time that Noah was hospitalized, he had told me that he had an overdose and he was in a coma for 4 days, I believe. But after that, we really didn't talk about it after that. I'm not too sure why we didn't talk about it more. Definitely now I'm wishing that I would have, but it just never was something that came up after that. I did worry about him a lot, especially when I wasn't with him, I never thought that I would lose him, especially to this, and especially this soon. Yeah, so he had came over, I think, around like 5 or 6 in the afternoon. He just came over, we were watching movies, doing what we would do regularly when we were together. And he was supposed to leave to go to our friend's house, which was down the street. He was like, well, before I leave, can you go make me something to eat? And that's what I went to go do. Maybe around like 30 minutes later, and I seen that he was asleep. And I didn't see him take anything or see him do anything, so I just thought he was sleeping. When I came back into the room with the food and the drinks, I tried to wake him up, and I noticed that his breathing was kind of weird, like kind of gargling sounds. And that's when I knew something wasn't right, so I went to go get my mom. Like, I didn't see him take anything, and he didn't tell me he took anything. That's why most of the time for that night, I was just really confused. She goes over to where he's laying at in my bed, and she kind of taps him and calls his name to try to wake him up. And she yells for my grandma to call 911. My mom kind of takes him off the bed and starts giving him CPR. And that's when I realized that I was probably going to lose my boyfriend.
It was midnight, August 21st. I had just laid down. And I had just put my phone under my pillow because I like to play music when I go to bed. And my phone rings, and I just knew. I just knew immediately. I knew the number. I knew that's where Noah was at. So I answered the phone, and it's his friend's mom. And the first thing I hear is a girl screaming in the background. So I knew what was going on. And the friend's mom said, Janelle, I don't know what Noah took, but I think he's overdosed. And I was like, no. He was asleep and he woke up. And I said, Noah did it again. But during that phone call with the friend's mom, she said, I've been doing CPR on him for 20 minutes. He's vomiting so much out of his nose. And I begged her, I said, please don't stop. Turn him on his side. Please don't stop.
The EMS got there before Janelle's family members had got there. The EMS had moved him from my bedroom to our living room. So I guess so they could have more room. And my mom kind of pulled me away because she didn't want me to see that. But like I kept coming back because I didn't want to leave him there. And I think the hardest part about like all of that was seeing him like throw up because I thought he was gonna be okay. Around like, I'm not sure what time it is because I really wasn't paying attention to the time, but I had heard one of the EMS workers say, if this one doesn't work, we're gonna call it. And I was sitting in my mom's room with the door open, and maybe about 5 minutes later, I heard them call the time, and I just screamed.
By the time that we arrived, I got out of the van and I was ready to go inside to go see my son. And my mom just looked at me and she just shook her head. And I just fell and screamed. Noah didn't make it. Seeing your friend in a casket, I thought was going to be the wake-up call for all his friends. Even at the funeral, I would tell each one of his friends, if you know something, say something. You've got to do better. Stop doing this stuff. Every single person that came to hug me that was Noah's friend, I said the same thing. You don't want your parents to go through this. And days after, some of his friends overdosed. Life without Noah sucks. It sucks to have to answer his little sister's questions about why a bad person would want to give him something bad to eat.
Since he's passed away, it's been really hard. When I had met Noah, I was going through some really hard, mental things. And he made me feel like I was worthy again. If I could give advice to girls my age or just anybody my age going through this, it's okay to get help if you need it, but it's never okay to not be able to learn from your mistakes.
You want to say to him?
To Noah,
Yes.
I wish I could talk to you again. There'd be so many things that I had to say. I wish I just could see him smile again.